It's never too early for Lowe's Black Friday deals. Snag some of our biggest savings of the season right now, like 25% off select pre-lit artificial Christmas trees. And get yourself free select DeWalt, Cobalt, or Craftsman tools when you buy a select battery or combo kit before the Black Friday rush. Because everyone loves free stuff, right? Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 12/3 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Dragons Lair podcast in association with Riverside Sports Bar, the home of live sport and great burgers in Newport. And I'm pleased to confirm that they are sponsoring us for another season, so thank you very much to the Riverside for their continued support of the pod. I'm Jamie, and joining me as always is Gavin Thomas and Rugby World Magazine pin-up Garth Leclerc. How are we both?
Very well.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been called a pin-up before, but yeah, I'll take that. Cheers, mate.
Yeah. There'll be people with that page of Rugby World up on their bedroom walls, Gareth. That's all I'm saying.
I think my nan might stick it on her fridge, and apart from that, that's it.
Right, so for those who don't know, Rugby World Magazine did a special feature on the Dragons. And it was pretty good in fairness.
Yeah.
They interviewed fans in the pub and on the terraces, and it was quite entertaining read. And there was a picture of our Gareth with his arms aloft on the terrace, cheering on his beloved Dragons. And yeah, it was quite funny. Even the Dragons' Twitter account pointed it out to us, which was quite fun. I quite like what they said at the bottom of their article when they wrote, "It's not the flashiest or the most dazzling, but if you want a proper rugby ground full of proper rugby people, Rodney Parade hits the spot. Get yourself down there." Amen to that.
Spot on.
Isn't it? Proper rugby
Spot
ground,
on.
proper rugby people. That just sums up the Dragons of Rodney Parade. I thought that was really, really well written. So, yeah. So, we're back. Thank you for the messages. We know some of you have missed us, but fear not, our weekly therapy sessions have returned. And I'm delighted to say we have a special guest joining us this week. He's a sports reporter for The Times who's covered many sports, including rugby, cricket, Olympics, tennis, snooker, darts. He's a Newport RFC supporter. And along with his wife, Emily, finished 18th at the Wife Carrying World Championships this year. Yes, there is such a thing. Elgan Alderman, welcome to the Dragons Lair. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Not a problem. So for those who may not be aware of you, would you just like to talk a little bit about yourself and how you got into sports journalism?
Yeah, of course. So I was born in Penarth 32 years ago now to parents who hail from near Pontypridd. But then from 13 months old, when my parents still live to this day, they moved to Ponty near Caerleon. I always have to say Ponty near Caerleon to anyone. I suppose on a Dragons rugby podcast, people will know what those things are. But I'm so conditioned to saying that I'm from Ponty near Caerleon to people. Yeah. And yeah, so that's where I grew up. You know, started playing rugby for a bit when I was little at Newport High School Old Boys. I played cricket for Ponty Cricket Club and then Newport Cricket Club. And yeah, pretty early on, I caught the rugby bug, and I used to go down to Rodney Parade. From my first year of rugby knowledge was when I was 5 in 1999. So I had 4 years of the pre-regional era of the great Tony Brown era at Newport RFC. My dad was the honorary surgeon, which basically meant that he provided some medical help on match day, which was one of my ways into the club as well. So I would go into the medical room with him before matches at Rodney Parade, and he would make sure everything was there ready for any injuries that would happen. And it would be very exciting for me if someone was, don't want to say it now, but if someone was badly injured and my dad had to run on the field, that was very exciting for a 6-year-old boy. But obviously not great for the player involved. But that was my way into rugby, really, back at Newport back in the day. And then, yeah, I studied journalism at Jomec, Cardiff University, 9 years ago now, and started at the Times as a trainee 8 years ago, and still there now. Yeah, occasionally opining on rugby, cricket, but mainly rugby these days. My first love, Welsh Rugby, obviously a difficult love for all people, but the first love and still the one that keeps me tethered to it.
Oh, excellent. So let's talk about Newport FC then. You are a supporter. You talked about being at the club, etc., with your father. But what are your favourite memories? Any particular matches that stood out to you attending Rodney Parade?
So I believe the first match I went to was I'd already been to a Wales game by this stage, so I went to the first game at the Millennium when I was just before my 6th birthday. So I went to the win over South Africa. And the first 10 Wales games I ever saw were well, on TV or live were all wins. So it's a terrible start for a Welshman to think that, oh, Wales just always win because it was
Yeah,
the first game at Stade de France was the first one, and Wembley was the second one, and then World
yeah.
Cup games. So it was a terrible start. You think, oh, this happens all the time, and of course, it doesn't. But I think the
Oh,
first Newport game I went to was in November 1999, which was a European game against Cast, which had, I was just looking at the team sheet earlier, actually. So it was all of those greats, Rod Snow, Simon Raiwalui, Jason
yeah.
Forster, David
Mm,
Llewellyn was at scrum half, Andy Marinos. Jonathan Pritchard, who I think was a real favourite of mine. He's obviously not one of the big names, but he was a
yeah.
very good centre and occasionally fly half as well. Shane Howarth as well. So I think that was the first game I went to at Rodney Parade. I actually went through my jersey collection, and I've got a few next to me now, just sort of remnants of that great era. So I was very lucky to receive this Fiji training top from Simon Raiwalui back in
Oh,
the
wow.
day, which was
Oh,
very
that's a
nice.
nice one.
That's nice, isn't
Um,
it? Fair play.
I've got a Sharks top, which came via Gary Teichmann, I think when they went out on that 2-match tour to South Africa, I think, when
Excellent.
Teichmann was involved. I've got the 1994 Newport top from the year I was born with the Carlsberg sponsorship.
Oh, I love that top.
And I've
Yeah.
got the lesser spotted red away top as well from the late 90s as
Oh,
well.
yeah. I remember that one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that.
So yeah, just dug out them for some nostalgia, I thought. In keeping with the cast theme, my family and I'm the youngest of 4 children. All 6 of us went out to Cast the following year in 2000 to see that game. I remember Ian Goff scoring a try. I think he ran in from the 22 there or so. But yeah, Cast won that one convincingly. I remember Gregor Townsend was the fly half for Cast that day, and the Scottish referee Ian Ramage was certainly the travelling support thought the Scottish referee was favouring the Scottish fly half
Mm,
and shouted just as much throughout the game. I also remember being at the big Heineken Cup games against Bath and Toulouse, both wins in 2000, 2001. I think that 2001 one had Afisa Tonu at 9, perhaps my favourite ever, perhaps the
Oh,
best
what
player
a
I ever saw
player.
in that Newport RFC era. I never forget
mm.
seeing him throw a 20-meter reverse spin pass the way he wasn't looking. I just
Yeah.
thought, wow, what a player he is. And the cup final at the Millennium Stadium as well in 2001. I was at that as well when Newport beat Neath. So there were good few moments in that 4-year period.
Yeah. Fair play. Absolutely.
Class.
Thank you for showing us that merchandise as well. That was a bonus. Wasn't expecting. That was great to see. Do you still follow the Newport results now? Because obviously, Super Rugby Cymru is semi-pro. It's different now. Do you ever keep in touch with what's going on at Newport now, Elgan?
It can be difficult just because, obviously I've lived in London for most of the past 11 years, really. And even before that, I went to uni in England as well. So I go back to Wales quite a few times a year, see mum and dad, go to Wales games, that type of thing. But
Yeah.
I haven't been nearby as much. So I'm nowhere near as in tune with the club still as you guys are. Although I did have the Newport Cardiff game on TV on Friday night. I was catching up with that in Super Rugby Cymru. So, still always the sweet spot, the affection for me is for Newport, and yeah, you got when you're a journalist, obviously you treat everything dispassionately as much as possible, but also you can't go away from the things that made you want to go into the industry, and for me that was Newport. Even during the Dragons era, still Newport. I remember that first regional
Yeah.
season so fondly when Newport won the title and Craig Richards scoring 30 tries on the wing and players like Clear Lane and Matthew Vita. I still remember that very fondly as well.
Oh, fair play. Right. Let's talk about the car crash that is Welsh Rugby at the moment. This is the come down bit now. So, Elgin, you wrote a special report for the Times recently called "What Has Gone Wrong with Rugby in Wales? I Went to Find Out." Excellent report as well, I might add. So, for those people who missed it, can you tell us what has gone wrong with rugby in Wales and what did you find out?
What a question.
Well, I mean, the difficulty is you need an entire book, and of course, Simon Williams has written an entire book
Yes, yeah.
trying to write what's gone out. So, I mean, in the course of an article, it's very difficult to explain the whole thing. But I think the thesis behind it all was, for me, the problems with Welsh rugby is something that goes beyond just rugby. It's cultural, it's financial, it's political, it's how communities are these days. It's how people spend their spare time. There are just so many things I think that are beyond rugby that are the difficulty. And the thing that I wanted to do, like I say, it's impossible to cover everything, but within the framework of something I wanted to do was I wanted to go to some grassroots games. I wanted to go to some schoolboy rugby as well, because people are always talking about how it needs to be in the schools more. So, and I also wanted to go to North Wales because obviously, yeah, Welsh rugby, prisoners of geography, prisoners of history. The entire professional game is within this 40-mile corridor along a motorway, really. And you've got so much of the country that, on the face of it, isn't affected by any of these machinations. So I wanted to go to someone in up north and say, does any of this affect you, or all the stuff that's going on in the south? So fortunately, there happened to be a Tuesday night match up in Bala against Nant Cornoy. They'd rearranged it from a Saturday because I think Bala had a golf day on the Saturday it was arranged. So they rearranged the fixture for a Tuesday night, which at least meant I was able to go up there. So I spoke to them. The view from them was, well, we've never really been involved in it anyway. At least certainly we don't feel like we've been involved in it anyway, so it doesn't feel any different to us. And then I went to Llandovery to watch Llandovery College play against Whitchurch High School. I went to a uni game as well. I went to Cardiff Uni, their victory over Leeds Beckett, because I just wanted to go sort of away from the professional arena to find out what was going on there. And I spoke to Simon Williams as well, who wrote What Went Wrong with Welsh Rugby as well. And yes, very difficult to discern exactly what's gone wrong in such a shortish word count. But yeah, for me, it's something that goes beyond just rugby. It's something societal that a lot of things struggle with, not just in Wales, but around the world, around Britain. And what we're going through now, it's just the continuation of a 30-year-old question, which is how much professionalism can Wales afford? And Wales still hasn't come to a satisfactory answer yet. The idea that it's only 2 or 3 teams has been around for 30 years. It's not actually a new thing. Even the concept of there being 4 main centres for rugby in Wales, Newport, Cardiff, Swansea and Llanelli, that was written as far back as 1892. So that's 130 years of these 4 places being the main centres of Welsh rugby. So yeah, to the answer, sadly, there isn't a straightforward one. Whatever the answer is, it'll involve some unhappiness for some people. I think the difficulty is that whether what the WRU are suggesting is the right or wrong idea, the problem is that just no one trusts them to be doing the right thing. Therefore, I don't think anyone will accept what they're trying to do, even if some people think there might be some wisdom in what they're trying to do.
Yeah, that's fair enough. How do you think the WRU have handled it though, Elgan? Because first of all, we were told there's money for 4 teams, we're sticking with 4. It was part of the One Wales strategy. Then it was the optimal solution. They wanted 2 teams. Then they realised they couldn't get that past the WRU board. Now we're going to 3. How do you feel it's been handled, this process?
Well, certainly not well. And, I think anyone can look at that and think, how do we truly know which one you believe the optimal solution is if you've suggested that 4, 2, and 3 are all optimal solutions? So, I mean, even just the use of the term optimal solution, the optimal solution is to have the 4 teams that already exist be funded very well, with thoughts of maybe even having a fifth.
That's
That's
what we
an
want.
optimal.
That's what we all want, isn't it? But they're saying they haven't got the money for it. And they say there's not enough talent in Wales. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, part of the reason I wanted to go to a club in the north was because it wasn't that long ago that there was talk of Rugby Gogledd Cymru being a 5th region. So it's not, it's only 10, 15 years ago where people were still thinking about growing the number of regions, let alone, dropping down to 3 or 2. I mean, I'm sure we've all seen Glad Rugby's consultation as well, the different survey they did, which had a very interesting result. I think the most interesting result that came out of that was that none of the above was the answer that got the most solution, the most votes compared with the various solutions, which I think neatly sums up how no one is quite sure what the right answer is. But certainly, no, I think it would be very difficult to look at what's happened and say it's been well timed, well run, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the criticism from supporters towards people like Richard Collier-Keyword, Abby Tierney, and Dave Redding is that You're not Welsh. You're English. You don't understand Welsh rugby culture. You don't understand the landscape of rugby in Wales and what makes it tick and the history. Do you think that's a fair criticism?
It's a criticism I've heard multiple times.
Yeah.
I've read it online and I've heard it personally as well. I think what is again notable is that all the people that have tried to do something have always come from outside. So Graham Henry was the first person to say, I think there's only enough talent and
Yeah.
money for two or three people. Then it was David Moffat who actually brought the regional era. And so it's almost like it's a 30-year story of you need someone who isn't tied up with it all, comes in and says something, and the people that are tied up in it don't like what's being said. That's basically been what's happened for 30 years, and that's sort of the difficult situation we find ourselves in because I think when people say, "Oh, if people come in and make these decisions, which will impact Welsh rugby forever," and a lot of people talk about Welsh rugby right now terminally, and I don't think it's overly melodramatic to have, real concerns about what the game will look like over the next few years and decades, and it's being made by people that perhaps, yeah, won't be a part of the aftermath. They've been brought in to make these change. But I do look at it and I think, does it require people from outside who
Mm,
have experienced other countries to say, look, this is what needs to be done. This is a country of Wales's size needs to be so efficiently run. It needs to be more like New Zealand and Ireland, when I think everyone in Wales wants to be France is the difficulty. But the country of 3 million people that clearly thinks it doesn't have, well, not everyone thinks it doesn't have enough money or talent, but certain people don't think it has enough money or talent. Yeah, it's just very difficult. And there's many things that we can pontificate upon, but yeah, it's very difficult to drill down on that answer, which, I'd love to have the answer, but it's very difficult to
Well,
know what it is.
so I'm going to ask you a question, Elgan. I'm going to take you back in a time machine. We go back to 2002,
Hmm.
and despite you being, I don't know how old you were in
9 years
2002,
old.
like 9 years old. So the 9-year-old Elgan, the WRU have said, right, I need you to sort this out. What do we do? What does it look like? What if the WRU had been braver? What did regional rugby look like in 2004? And would that prevent us being where we are now?
I think it. I think at the time, even when I was 9, I thought it probably should have been the 4 or 5 major clubs should have been elevated as super clubs.
Hmm.
Cardiff, Swansea, Llanelli, Newport, and I suppose it would have been Pontypridd maybe at the time. And I know that
Pontypridd
was,
or Ebervale were the two, like
yeah,
the
yeah,
the,
yeah.
the two other clubs, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think probably at the time I wanted Newport to carry on as the
Hmm.
main thing, and I can
mm,
understand why supporters of Ebervale, Pontypool, Cross Keys, etc. wouldn't necessarily have wanted that, but I think at the time that's probably
Hmm.
something I would have wanted. I certainly wanted Newport
Yeah.
to be carrying on as the main thing. The alternative is the brave option on the other end of the spectrum is, and it's something that I wonder, would Welsh Rugby accept now if it were offered, would be East and West Wales in an Anglo-Welsh league, and then the historic clubs as a top level league within Wales. Would Welsh Rugby countenance that even now? I think unless
Well,
something's Anglo-Welsh now, no one will countenance anything right now. I think.
no.
yeah.
But I
And
think if, sorry, carry again.
no, well, I was just going to say, I think the challenge is, and you've kind of really deftly put it there. Kind of as a 9-year-old, but I felt pretty much the same as considerably older than 9 in 2004. That I wanted my club to exist,
Mm,
and that's the issue in Wales. We haven't had a provincial setup like they've always had in Ireland. And that's the challenge, isn't it? And that brave new world of East and West side, we don't understand how to buy into that because we're
mm,
far too tribal as a group of people.
East Wales doesn't really exist to us, does it? As
No.
a collective, it's not something we identify ourselves as.
We're all from Gwent, and none of us would describe ourselves as being from East Wales. You know, you guys, I assume, would all describe yourselves as Newport people, and myself and Jamie would describe ourselves as Valleys people. We wouldn't say we're from East Wales.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a fair point, isn't it? Speaking about Anglo-Welsh, then, that's a question for you. What do you make of these constant rumours and talks about Wales having teams in the Anglo-Welsh? Because Joe Public wants this to happen, don't they? Because you hear constantly all the time from people, the URC is rubbish, which it's not, by the way. But, I want to go to Gloucester. I want to go to Bath. I want to travel to London. I want to see Harlequins. I don't fancy a flight to Durban, or Cape Town or anywhere like this. Do you think that would solve a lot of Welsh Rugby's problems? Because you'd have to admit it would be probably better commercially and logistically, wouldn't it? There would be some advantages in having an Anglo-Welsh league, wouldn't it?
I think for Welsh Rugby, it's clearly I think that is an optimal solution to use that phrase that people are throwing around. And again, I think if you'd asked 9-year-old Elgan this, he'd have told you the same thing. That for me, I've never understood why there isn't a British and Irish league, let alone an
Yeah, that's
Anglo-Welsh
what should have
league.
happened. Yeah.
And I still spend some of my evenings thinking what it would look like. And the most recent thing I've drawn up that might work would be a first half of the season where it is entirely geographical. So you'd have sort of Edinburgh and Glasgow playing the likes of Sale and Newcastle, where it's up there, and then you've got the four Welsh teams with Exeter, Bath, Bristol, etc., and then you've got London clubs. What I've drawn up involving a lot of the English clubs that probably aren't quite the sort of some of the championship level clubs. So the exact detail is probably wrong, but the idea I had was that the first half of the season would be this geographical thing where the Welsh teams are playing the Welsh teams and Bath and Bristol. So almost everything feels like a derby, basically. Everything is nearby to each other.
Yeah.
And then after the Six Nations, it would be sort of siphoned off into the teams that were top of the North bit, the Southwest bit, the London bit, whatever, would then form almost a premiership after the Six Nations, where you find who the British and Irish champion is, something along those lines. But I do think that you speak to old players from Gloucester and those types of things. You speak to fans of the Scarlets about their European games against Gloucester. They're still the things that get people excited. So while I don't think it would suddenly, fix Welsh rugby, I do think it is would clearly be the best thing.
Yeah, I agree. We're big fans of the URC on this pod. And it's got world-class players, isn't it? World Cup winners. It's a brilliant league, but rugby fans really like it. But then I think the Welsh public, the general sports fan, they just don't buy into it.
You think
It's
as well,
not really
though,
working for them.
it's because we have no rivalries, but we have no rivalries because we're poor.
Yeah,
you build
we aren't
rivalries by
competitive.
beating teams and building those grudge matches. We do lose the majority of our games. You don't really build that rivalry with sides then, because you don't just lose a game and then the next time you've beaten them. And I think we do lack that. And going into the English would give us a more level playing field budget wise. I think that would be pretty big.
It would and it wouldn't though. Because for as much as there's a salary cap in English rugby, there's also ways around the salary cap that all the clubs take, and not in the illegal way that got Saracens found out. But marquee players and everything else, and we haven't got the money to do that, whereas Gloucester and Bath and everyone else do.
What's been interesting for me is, because I grew up with the Welsh Scottish League, and I grew up without Anglo-Welsh fixtures essentially. I wasn't aware just how prominent they were in the past, and it was just the other week I was down at Gloucester doing a piece, and it was only in the research for that I realised what this great bond was between Pontypool and Gloucester, and how it was almost one of the biggest games of the season. They played each other something like 80 times in 80 years. And I read some program notes where I think the Gloucester chairman said something like, I hope that as English clubs start to prioritise our own league ahead of these Anglo-Welsh friendlies. I hope that the Pontypool-Gloucester rivalry, stays strong. And obviously, as we all know, 30 odd years later, it simply doesn't exist and never will again because of the changes that have happened.
That's interesting. Well, the WRU say they're committed to the URC, so it's not going to happen anytime soon. But rest assured, this issue will not go away.
They were
Every
committed
single
to
season,
they were
they'll come up.
committed to 2 teams, though, Jamie, and that lasted 7 weeks. So
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Okay, fair point. But I don't see this happening anytime soon. We know we can't trust the
No,
word that the WRU say, but they
No.
are shareholders in the URC, and Dave Redding explained there's a lot of processes to go through, a lot of
Yeah.
hurdles if they want this. So it's not happening anytime soon. What I'm saying is this issue comes up every single season, and it'll just never go away, will it?
No.
That's the problem,
we'll
though.
see.
Don't mind me touching on that. Like the trust issue. Like I feel like the WRU, they've mismanaged this game in Wales for so long, but it wasn't the current board. And you think, right, you've inherited this mess. You think, if you can do anything, the first thing you need to do is build some trust. With trust is better cooperation, and we can sort of move forward. And this talks about more control. You think, well, if it's a board we trusted, maybe we wouldn't be so against it. But when you're reading things like they provided a 50-slide deck 10 minutes before the meetings with the Dragons, it's so unprofessional. Well, it's not just unprofessional, is it? It's a show of their sort of tactics and their approach to the whole process.
Any form of slide deck would upset me. Just talk like human beings.
It's just, I feel like their conduct has sort of been brought into question now. You think you should have been building trust, and now there's nothing. I can't trust anything that comes out of a certain person in Welsh Rugby's mouth at the minute.
Right, okay, that's a perfect segue. Let's get into it then. So, talks are currently ongoing between the regions and the WRU, and it's fair to say it's not going well. Dragons owners walked out of a meeting with the WRU that was supposed to have lasted 3 hours. It lasted just 10 minutes. Going forward, the WRU want complete control of all rugby operations at the pro teams, and they plan on centrally contracting every player in Wales, leaving investors in control of just the commercial side of the business. Now, this is quite important, this bit. I've stolen this from Wales Online. So this is what Steph wrote. He said, Wales Online understands the funding directors will be required to put in at least 1 million per year as part of a fixed license fee. Okay. The funding directors will also be expected to pay back the COVID loan, which now totals in a region of 7 million per club. This means the benefactors will need to stump up between 1 million and 1.5 million a season per club, depending on the cost of the loan taken out. Before this latest saga, the WRU had decided to take the COVID loan onto its own balance sheet and pay it back on behalf of the 4 professional clubs. But guess what? This has now changed. They've backtracked on that. From year 6 of the license fee, the debt will have been paid off, but then there will be a variable license fee, which is calculated at 50% of net surplus. In other words, 50% of the profits the 3 clubs make from the commercial side of their business will have to go to the WRU, which is just ridiculous, isn't it? So the Dragons are quite rightly furious about this. They put out a statement. Another one. They've been putting out quite a few statements lately. I'm not going to read out the whole statement because we've all seen it by now, but basically they said, under the current WRU proposals, professional clubs would have no control over rugby decisions, including coaching, player recruitment and selection. For Dragons RFC, this is not viable or desirable, but they say we have consistently sought a constructive discussion on how to improve the union's plans. Dragons say they are also unhappy about a new set of financial commitments demanded from owners, which are both unacceptable and off-market. So, Elgan, come to you now. Looking in from the outside, what do you make of all this? Because basically, the WRU want the owners to stump up more money for less control of their business, and any profits they do make from the commercial side, they have to give 50% of it to WRU. I mean, that's just bonkers, isn't it? No reasonable ownership is going to sign up to that, are they?
Yeah, I think similar to the themes we've already touched upon, a lot of this process is asking for goodwill, benevolence, and trust from people, and just the way it's being handled, the way it's being perceived is that people aren't willing to give any of those things as a result. And I was, in preparation for this, like harking back again, I was looking back at what was going on in 2003 and all the machinations over whether it would be called the Gwent Dragons or the Newport and Gwent Dragons or Newport Gwent
Yeah.
Dragons, and even just about things that Tony Brown said about, initially withdrawing, even then you can certainly see situations where people just won't want to be a part of things if they're being asked at short notice to sign up to these conditions.
Yeah. Gareth, what do you make of the Dragons statement? Because like I said, we have put out a few statements now. Do you think we're handling this in the right way? Do you think it was right to make that statement and call out the WRU? How do you think we've handled it?
100%. The only way to deal with a bully is sort of biting back and standing your ground. And I think that's what the WRU are at the minute, is a bully. I'm really happy that the Dragons owners are standing tall and fighting. David Buttress, maybe on Twitter, is maybe not as wisely chosen at times, but they're interesting to read, to say the least.
We'll come on to that in a minute, because Dave's had a hell of a week on Twitter. He's been on one. Let's be honest, he's been on one. Now we're going to talk about that.
He's had a couple of beers, I reckon. I just think, I think the conduct of the WRU has been brought into question. I think they've lost trust that I don't think is going to be able to be won back. And I think when they talk about these solutions, we're not all going to agree on it, and somebody is going to end up unhappy, which is sort of like you're going to accept that with change, but it's the way they've gone about it that really doesn't sit well with me. Essentially, we feel potentially that we're safe. It would be easy in some ways for the Dragons to lie down and take this, which some people online seem to think that's what the Dragons would do. But I think we've been pretty outspoken previously about being against the WRU. David Buttress has certainly not seen eye to eye with them, and the rest of our board seem to be following suit. And I do think it's rightly so. I think the terms are absolutely ridiculous. In what mind could anyone sign up for these conditions? And who's going to be left to invest in Welsh Rugby if we do drive these investors out? What is going to happen? Is this all a ploy to only have two teams because people aren't simply going to sign to these terms? I'm not sure, but it's just more uncertainty and more worry ahead, which is very unenjoyable as a fan at the moment.
Well, the issue is, and you said about trust, it's a bit like a couple where one of them is a serial kind of strayer, and they're like, oh, but it'll be different this time. It'll be different this time. And that's what the WRU are gaslighting an entire nation that they should trust them because they've got our best interests in heart. And they haven't. Or if they have, they're hiding it very well.
I do think sometimes, because it's so ridiculous and unprofessional. Like, is there something we don't know here? Can they honestly be that bad? You're like, what? Is there some sort of a master plan that we're not seeing? Because how can they be that bad at doing their job?
I think we know there's no master plan. And that's my problem. And Elgan hit the nail on the head right at the start. It might have even been before we were talking. I can't remember, before we were recording. But the optimal solution would be just 4 well-funded regions. Yeah. But because when we were making money and when the WRU were working, we put our money towards other projects other than rugby. And that's where we lie. So because people have made decisions, the regions and the fans of the regions are the ones who have to suffer. And that is not fair and not right.
It is interesting seeing comments from people online and listening to certain podcasts who were surprised that the Dragons have had this falling out with the WRU. It's no surprise to me because I know this for a fact, and I know that David Wright and especially David Buttress, they really, really don't like the WRU. And what I would say is, even when Dragons were owned by the WRU, David Buttress was always vocal and was never afraid to speak out against the WRU. He's not suddenly, putting his head above the parapet now. He's always been this outspoken against the WRU, even when we were owned by him. So, and that's what I appreciate. That's what I respect about him. And it's not a cozy relationship. The Dragons have had a fractured relationship with the WRU for a little while now. And even in those previous statements, they, you could read between the lines. They were talking about the control that the WRU wanted to impose, and they weren't going to accept it. And they've made it clear, we are not signing these, these terms and conditions. We're not signing up to it. So yeah, don't be surprised because this has been on the cards for a while. This has been brewing for a long time, and I'm glad we're speaking out against it. I know we've got a little wiggle room to do so. I mean, Cardiff can't say anything because they are owned by the WRU. I get that, and the West clubs, they're sort of fighting for their lives, aren't they? So they're not going to say anything to upset the WRU too much. So we have got a little bit license to be a bit more critical. But I'm still glad that we are saying anything because, like you said, Gav, it'd be very easy for us to not say anything. But yeah, I think it's right that we fight
That's
our
the
ground.
point as well. I want to hear something from the teams in the West. I know they are in a more vulnerable position.
It's difficult for them, I think, given their
But-
situation, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah, but given those terms,
I'm not even convinced that we're as secure as, because those phraseology, that West, Central, East, I have no idea what they're thinking. The WRU, it's, I think their grasp of geography might be as weird as their grasp of the concept of trust.
So we know that WRU want to go down to 3 teams, and the union are saying that they want a resolution to all this in the next 6 weeks. Otherwise, it's going out to tender. This is
It's
what
like-
Dave Redden said.
It's like Trump and Ukraine. Use this terrible deal, you've got a week.
Okay, very topical, Gavin, but cheers. I think if it goes out to tender, this is going to get very messy
Yeah,
because there's nothing stopping Scarlets, for example, applying for the East license. And there's nothing actually stopping Ospreys applying for the Central license. The WRU have admitted, I think they talked about this on the Scrum Fight podcast, those are possibilities. That could happen. Elgan, do you think this could be resolved in the next 6 weeks?
No.
Because it seems to me they're saying it's going to get very, very messy, isn't it? It's not going to happen.
You can't resolve something in 6 weeks that people have probably been arguing about for 144 years since the WRU was founded.
No, not at all. What do you make of it, Elgan? This sort of East, Central, West, and then Scarlets, Ospreys having to fight for that West position, even though Richard Collier Keyword tried to say otherwise, that no, they're not fighting for one spot when they clearly are. I mean, you must think we're idiots or something. I don't know, but what do you make of it? It's going to get awful messy, isn't it?
Yeah, because of course no one is. Again, if you want someone to essentially sacrifice themselves for the greater good of something, then you need to have absolute trust in that process. And that, as we've said, there is none in that. And Llanelli isn't going to willingly go, okay, we'll never have rugby here again. Of course, they're not going to want that. And it's just the
No.
same as Swansea isn't going to want to go, oh, that's fine, we'll never have rugby here again. Don't worry about that. So, yeah, it's no one in this current state is going to, willingly lay down their sword and go, yeah, you carry on without us, don't you worry.
Let's not forget, with all this going on in the backdrop, Cardiff are for sale. And you're thinking, who is going to come in and want to buy Cardiff when they got no control over the rugby business? They got no assets. Why would you buy Cardiff right now? They got to clear the debt as well. What's in it for these new investors to buy Cardiff right now with those terms and conditions? It almost seems to me, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it almost seems to me like WRU want to retain control. That's how it feels like. This is a battle of control, isn't it? And this is what I'm worried about, see, because if the Dragons owners don't sign up to this, let's just say, for example, and Buttress and David Wright go, well, we've had enough now, bollocks to you, we're done, we're out. The WRU go, well, okay, we close the East down, or we take over it, and then they'll close the team in the West, and then guess what? They got their 2 team, their optimal solution, full control, what they've always wanted. But that's my conspiracy theory mind. I'm not saying that's what they definitely want to do, but it will not surprise me because this is the WRU they're talking about. But we know they wanted 2 teams. We know that because they said so. It was the optimal solution. But yeah, it's a mess, isn't it? It's an absolute mess, and it's going to get worse. Elgan, your colleague at the time, Stephen Jones, he likes Sir Clive, doesn't he? He's big on Sir Clive. He wants Sir Clive in Welsh Rugby. He's written another article today about this. He wants Dave Redden to hire Sir Clive to sort out this mess. He wrote, the Dragons will not be walking out on anyone with such massive stature and authority. Dave, have you the courage? Would you do it? I have no idea, he says. But he solves so many of your credibility problems. Come on in, Elgan, respond to your colleague's claim. Would Sir Clive sort out the many problems and the credibility issues in Welsh rugby?
I'm not sure that's the answer.
That's a very diplomatic and kind way to say it. Well, come on, expand. Why not?
Well, Sir Clive Woodward won a World Cup 22 years ago, as viewers of ITV are very fond of pointing out that it used to be brought up quite often. So I'm not sure. Harking back to something from the year when regional rugby was brought in the first place might be the solution for that.
Yeah.
Gavin, Sir Clive,
Oh,
WRU.
Where do I start? Where do I start? Just because something was good in the past, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the solution right now, does it? You know,
That's a no then.
Well, yeah, of course it's a no. It's the same thing with Graham Henry. Yeah, let me put it another way. You know how unsuccessful Graham Henry was? Well, he's been in rugby more recently than Woodward was.
Woodward, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a Southampton fan, so I've seen Woodward trying to be a man in other sports.
Mm.
When
that didn't go well today.
He was our sporting director. No, it did not.
That did not go well.
Yeah, we had Rupert Lowe in us then as well. Jesus.
Oh, dear. Okay, let's not go down that.
What a terrible group of people.
Gareth, Sir Clive?
Yeah, no.
Okay, fair enough.
Great, very successful man. I think the situation in him taking over England and leading them to a World Cup victory is quite different to the situation in Wales. He had a lot of money to spend. He did great, but I think it's not really relevant to the situation in Wales now. I want a new solution for Wales to move forward with, not trying to copy something from the past either. Yeah, I think we can be a bit more innovative than that.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, let's talk about the autumn series then, Wales campaign. So Wales opened up their campaign with a record defeat to Argentina, 28-52, but they were green shoots in that performance. Wales then stole victory from the jaws of defeat, beating Japan 24-23. And on Saturday, Wales put in a spirited performance against the All Blacks, losing 26-52. Tom Rogers became the first Welshman to score a hat-trick against New Zealand. That's a pub quiz question right there, isn't it? Elgan, what are your biggest takeaways from Wales's autumn series so far? What have you learned about Wales in this campaign?
I think the games against Argentina and New Zealand, which were of course the 24 and 26 point defeats, but it was good to see some semblance of attacking shape and threat, which we did see. Which I think what was most galling about the last 2 years or so, the second coming of Warren Gatland, was that you couldn't tell what they were trying to do at any stage in matches, and that was what was most annoying. There is still the feeling, and I still have the feeling that the players that Wales have can still perform better than the results that Wales have had over the past 2 years. And so the hope is that with what we've seen in fits and spurts against Argentina and New Zealand, that if they can do that more over 80 minutes, if they can cut out on dropping restarts, which I think that happened twice immediately after tries, didn't it, against the All Blacks, they can cut out on things like that, things like silly errors as they get more used to test matches and etc. That will obviously put the team in a better position. I think Dan Edwards has done well at fly half, and I like the look of what he can do long term. Equally with someone a bit more experienced like Jared Evans coming off the bench, I think that's that's a promising little 10 and 22 or coming on as a second playmaker thing to have. I think Alex Mann and Harry Deeves, two men that aren't renowned for size. I think they both fought really well against New Zealand, fought hard, and which was good to see, good heart as well. Someone like Ollie Cracknell in that Japan game as well, someone at different end of the age scale did well as well. So I think at the start of the autumn, if someone had said Wales will beat Japan and will not lose by more than 30 points to New Zealand, I think some people would have viewed that. I mean, it says how low expectations are. I think people wouldn't have viewed that as a travesty at the start of the autumn. The Japan game, they did not play well at all, but they simply needed to win, and they
Yeah.
managed that. You know, there have been autumns when Welsh rugby was in a much more healthy way, where one win and losing heavily to New Zealand was something that happened then as well. So it's not exactly like it's completely un-Welsh to have an autumn like this. But of course, we're talking now before that Springboks game when there's going to be, what, 12, 13 players missing. So I think people are looking at that one and hoping damage limitation. I've already been asked in recent days, could Wales concede 100 points in one of the last two matches? So that's what people
Yeah.
are thinking about. I didn't think they'd do it against New Zealand, and they didn't. But obviously, people are. I'm not suggesting that they're going to concede 100 against South Africa, but it does have the makings of, a one-sided day on Saturday. But hopefully, they continue to improve a bit more. They show good fight, like the likes of Harry Deeves did on the weekend, and they battle hard and have I don't think anyone's expecting them to win, but show continued signs of improvement.
Reading the South African press today as well, it would appear that there's going to be a much rotated South African team as well, my understanding, that the players in France are going back to France and some of the URC players are going back to their clubs as well.
Right. So Alex Lowe, Times, he responded to Simon Thomas about this, and he said that South Africa, Rassie said actually, after the Ireland game that they would only have 25 players available, with some, he says, some URC players going back to their provinces. So it will be interesting to see what team they put out. Either way, it's going to be pretty formidable. Wales will be without 13 players for the South Africa game. This is because the game is being played outside World Rugby's international window, meaning players who play their club rugby in England and France are not eligible. And Steve Tandy did say after the game, I think we'll have to call up a few players. We'll have to assess around injuries. We know that Wainwright is carrying a hip injury at the moment. They are world champions, he says, so we might have to get a few reinforcements in. We'll chat as a coaching group and with the medical staff. I mean, I was worried about the All Blacks in the week, but I'm really worried about this because I don't think it'd be 100 points. I think that's just being a bit silly, but it could be very, very painful, couldn't it? Because this Wales team, as spirited as they are, and that's what I like about this Wales team, they've shown a lot of fight, a lot of character, a lot of spirit, a lot of heart. But the truth is, they're underpowered, and they just haven't got the quality of other nations. So, I'm worried about this one. I'm really worried. I mean, goodness knows what team we're going to put out, because the guys that are going back to England and France, they are frontline players. It's I really don't want to think about it at the moment. Oh dear.
Some of them that are going back, though, I'm not that worried about that, if I'm honest. Thomas, we know what Thomas could do. We need to run out of the scrum halves.
Thomas has been good, though. He has been good.
He wasn't bad. It was just, but Louis Rees-Zammit, I think, has been fits and starts, great in attack, can't defend.
He was good yesterday.
He was poor in defence, I thought. I thought he was good in attack, but he was caught up in defence. Max Llewellyn probably had his best game as well, I thought, but also in defence, he gets pulled inside quite easily. So it'd be interesting to see other options. These I'm not saying they're bad players. I'm just saying it'd be interesting to see other options.
No. David Jenkins had his best game in a Wales jersey on Saturday. I thought that was a real coming-of-age performance from him. I thought he was outstanding. So we mentioned David Buttress earlier. Like I said, he had a busy week on X, and he was on one. I think he had a few beers on Saturday. I don't know if he was at the game, but I do think alcohol was consumed. So this is what he wrote. It's okay. He's a friend of the pod. He listens to us. He'll understand. This is what he wrote on X on Saturday night. Everything that is wrong in the Welsh psyche today, that somehow conceding 50 points at home is a positive, a huge part of the problem. As well as a match day experience that is vanilla and lacks national identity versus football and its competitors. Sad to say it, but it's true. And then in a separate post, he wrote, I say it in the spirit of loving Welsh rugby and wanting the very best of it. I'll be supporting win, lose or draw, but we have to start with the honest truth that we are miles off the top rugby nations. The All Blacks were in second gear today. And he did criticise the experience at the stadium. I mean, I thought that the anthem was great. I thought that when they did it, a cappella, like they do at the football, I thought it was really, really good, actually. I thought the the build-up was good, but he said the WRU have turned our culture into a theme park. They don't respect our culture or history, and they even say it. Get them out, he says. Do we think that's fair criticism from David, what he's saying? Because I get what he's saying, but there were some green shoots, I think, in that performance, wasn't it? I know it's not great shipping 50 plus points, but what do you think, Elgan? It's a difficult one, isn't it? Both things can be true at the same time, I suppose.
Yeah, what he says is completely true, but like you say, Newport have beaten the All Blacks since Wales have. That's how long
That's true.
that's
It
how
is
long
true,
ago it
yeah.
was. So when I'm obviously Wales have never beaten the All Blacks in my dad's lifetime, let alone my lifetime, and
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not convinced I'll ever see it in my lifetime. So that's the starting point of what every All Blacks game is like.
Because
I was
you are
there.
young,
I was
aren't
there.
you?
Sorry,
I mean, sorry, you're young, so you're saying you don't think you'll ever see. How old are you, Elgan? Don't mind me asking.
I'm 32, and I'm not convinced I'll ever see Wales beat
Really?
them. Yeah, I'm not convinced.
That's interesting. Okay.
I was there in '04 when they lost by one, and I was there in '09 when Alan Wynne-Jones intercepted, and then they lost the line out with 2 minutes left, 5 meters out, which wouldn't have won the game, but a converted try would have drawn the game. But those are the only two really. I know there was a game in New Zealand where they were leading at halftime and they thought they should have led by more at halftime. But I mean, in 70, well, it's since Andy Hayden in 78, those are the only two really that Wales have come close to beating the All Blacks. And so that's the history for the expectation going into this game, let alone Wales going into the game with expectations as low as they've ever been. So that's why that tweet is correct, but equally you can't avoid, I think, all that has come before. Just on the singing and the atmosphere, I actually know a lot of the people that sang the anthem because it was the London Welsh Rugby Club choir, and I sing in a few of them with the London Welsh Male Voice Choir. So I knew a few. I know a few
Oh,
of the guys on the pitch. I look forward to seeing some of them on Thursday probably and asking what the day was like and singing. Um, but I draw a lot of parallels between the rugby and the singing in when I think about Welsh rugby in 2025 because I'm party to so many conversations about we need to get singing back into the stadium. We need to get people singing Cwm
yeah.
Rhondda and Ratchi and all that. And I think people don't know how to sing those songs outside of the stadium. Therefore, they're not going to suddenly spring
No.
into four part harmony within the stadium. And I think it's the same with rugby that if you don't look after the rugby outside of the stadium, you're not going to get it suddenly magical inside the stadium. And no, the anthem did sound very good. And from what I've heard from people in the stadium, even the halftime DJ set was one of the best half times they've experienced in Cardiff. So it sounds like things might have improved on that regard, but yeah, certainly, yeah. I look forward to finding out from some of the guys what it felt like for them singing that anthem on Saturday.
Yeah, it looked good on TV. The
The lighting
atmosphere
looked
and
good.
like
The
I said,
lighting
the,
looked
the
good
anthem.
that day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it looked good. I thought they did that well, but Mr. Buttress says otherwise. Gareth, what do you make of Buttress's comments and Wales as a whole?
I mean, yeah, on Butchers, I mean, he does make a good point. Whether there was a need for it, maybe at the minute with everything else going on. I go to the football games as well. I was there for North Macedonia, and the football atmosphere is absolutely phenomenal.
Hang
I
on a
guess,
minute. You attended a sporting event where Wales or the home side won, the team you
mate,
support.
it's
Because you're
unbelievable.
normally a jinx. I'm not being funny.
I know,
We haven't won a game
7-1.
since you've come on here,
Couldn't
so.
believe it. Couldn't believe
Right.
it. Absolutely loving life.
Mad.
Yeah, the atmosphere at the football has been fantastic, but there is like a genuine like national identity with the football. People are connected to it, and I feel like we do have that in the rugby, but the rugby's different. It's almost a little bit of a corporate event. You get sort of people on work jollies and things like that. Is everyone in that ground a Welsh rugby fan?
No,
No, they're not, and that
the event
that's
goers.
fine. That's
They're
modern
event goers.
sport in general. Modern sport is like that, and if people are putting money into Welsh rugby, you're not against it, but
Exactly,
it doesn't then create the best atmosphere. On Wales's autumn, though, I mean, it shows where we are. That I'm okay with how it's gone. I think on the negatives, at times it's like watching the Dragons. Some of the errors.
Oh, it hasn't been that bad.
I don't know.
Then
Compounding
again.
errors, penalty after penalty, and I'm like, I'm
Yes.
used to this. People who support other teams message me going, "Oh, it's awful," and I'm thinking, this is just what I watch every week, mate. Like, this is just, this is all right. But I mean, those pluses, I agree with Elgan. Dan Edwards, I thought fantastic.
He's great. Big fan of Dan Edwards. Do you know what I like about Dan Edwards? He's unflappable for such a young fly half, because there's a lot of pressure. Anyone that dons that Welsh 10 jersey, there's a lot of scrutiny, a lot of pressure. Even when he makes a mistake, he shrugs it off. I'm really impressed with how calm and composed he is at this level. So I think Dan Edwards has been terrific. And I'll give a shout out for Azarati as well, Mike, Kieran Azarati, because there was an area that I was concerned about. A lot of people, we hype up what's the Bath's pro Archie Griffin a lot, but he's barely getting any rugby at Bath. And Azarati's done well. He's been solid in the scrum.
Well,
he's been good in the loose.
Well, I thought.
He's been a surprise. So there are positives and really good individual performances.
Well, Dan Edwards at Rodney Parade had a bit of stick off the crowd, obviously, obviously, and he was sort of smirking. I think I quite like that. Like, I like him a lot. Bang up for it, and I think second rows. You mentioned Dav Jenkins had a good game against the All Blacks. I think Adam Beard has been good. I think the only thing I find with us,
I disagree with you there. I think Adam Beard has been 7 steps below anonymous. I couldn't tell you anything he did.
Listen, Adam Beard does his job, right? Everyone hammers him for his ball carrying. He's not a ball carrier. His primary job is to hit rucks. He's a line-out operator in the small defence, and he does those jobs very, very well. Better than any other lock in the Wales squad.
We've got really hard work in second rows, and even if you swap one out, you put in a Ben Carter, massive work rate offender. But we've got no one we haven't got big bollock in second row, have we? Who wants to smash people either side of the ball.
We haven't got ball carriers.
No, and not dominant hits in defence as well. So like Alex Mann, I think is a good example where he's had a good autumn. He works himself to death. He works really hard, puts in a hell of a lot of tackles. He's got a bit of chops about him, which I do enjoy from a back rower. But how many of his tackles are dominant? He's not changing
power, doesn't he?
He's not changing momentum, and it's not. He has played well, and you cannot fault the effort, and he's putting his body on the line. But they're not dominant hits. So I think we could have had Moriarty and Rafael at 6 and 7, and I think are we winning more ball from turnovers, and are we making dominant hits with those two? So I think has he got selection spot on?
They're less athletic though, and I think he's going for athleticism over power.
Yeah, which then, as with some of the speed of ball we've had in attack, probably shows. So I guess you give with one and you take with the other, don't you? So
I understand why he's done it. Like you, I think I'd probably put Moriarty and Rafael, but I like a 6 who's going to punch people in the head, metaphorically.
Yeah, Moriarty does do it. I just think, there's no one really halting that momentum on the gain line and putting in that hit. Yes, we're making tackles, but we're absorbing. And I just think we haven't got that momentum shift.
That's why I think Azarati's been strong as well, because Azarati's tackling is, it's Asbo levels at times.
Yeah, a lot's been made of the centres as well. I don't think Ben Thomas, for me, had a great autumn, but Max Llewellyn's an interesting one. I thought he was okay against the All Blacks. He's got the profile of a player you want. He just looks that tiny bit of bite about him.
I think he's great. He's good in attack. Great is too strong a word. He's good in attack, but he bites in a lot at 13, which creates his space outside him.
Yeah, and obviously, there's been Blair Murray. Obviously, he's had his struggles in the air. I actually thought attacking-wise, the last few games, he wasn't great, but a bit better against the All Blacks. I think having maybe someone like Mason Grady back as a bigger winger could be good, because I think the game's about game breakers at the moment and people who can go and attack and who can score the most points almost. Rugby's a bit mad, isn't it? It's in a good place attacking-wise. So I think the more game breakers you can get on the field is great. But great to see Jared Evans in the squad as well. Oh, I would love him at Rodney Parade. I'd love either of those 10s at Rodney Parade, to be honest. But yeah, it's daft, but not too down about the autumn. I think the most dangerous game is to come, though, and I think I'll be watching that beyond the sofa Saturday.
Yeah, I think we all will. Shout out to Brodie Coughlin. He is now officially a Welsh international. Well done, Brodie. Only 4 minutes. He should have had a bit more than 4 minutes, but fair play. He's got his first cap. Great moment for him and his family.
More to come. Yeah,
well, hopefully, absolutely. I think the biggest problem with this Wales team, there's a couple of things there. First of all, I think we're undersized and underpowered. We're going to see that Saturday. as well. The other thing is, I think we've got really good club players who just aren't able to transfer their club form to the international stage. And I think Ben Thomas and Max Llewellyn are two prime examples. Um, but that's just where we are. We need ball carriers. And like I said, you can't fault the effort and the character and the heart in this team, but I just don't think we're powerful enough and we're lacking quality. Elgin, any other takeaways from the autumn for you? Anything else that stood out to you?
Well, the other thing that from that New Zealand game was just it was no surprise. I thought that basically Wales won 3 aerial contests and scored tries immediately after. That's so
Hmm,
I know you can't necessarily control it, but it was seemed pretty obvious to me that when Wales do manage to catch a kick or get a hand to it, they almost scored
yeah,
immediately afterwards. So
funny enough. Now,
some-
win the aerial battle, you get
something
success. Yeah.
something to focus on and to improve on because clearly it's a good source of scoring for Wales when it works.
Hmm. The aerial battle we've lost terribly in this autumn, haven't we? That's something that really does need to be shored up.
We don't have a fullback, even in Wales, though, that I think is that solution. We don't have a Freddie Stewart, do we? I don't think we have genetics that posh to begin with, but also I think we lack we lack someone like that because we've got good fullbacks. Winnett's a good fullback. Blair Murray's a perfectly good fullback.
Jacob Beetham as well.
Hugh
That's another
Anderson.
good example. Well, Hugh Anderson's not in the Wales squad, though, is he? That's the problem there.
I say in jest, yeah.
Yeah, maybe one day, maybe in the future. But no, I like Blair Murray a lot, but I think he's better on the wing. I just yeah, he's been found out a little bit, I think.
He's not a fullback, is he? Like he's
No, but
uh,
yeah, okay. So that's the autumn done. So we're saying, yeah, it has been difficult. But there are green shoots. We can all agree that we are seeing some green shoots. Right, Elgin, here's a question. One more now before you go. We do appreciate you giving up your time to speak to us. It's one of those questions I'm afraid is going to be very difficult for you to answer, but I'd just like you to give it a go. How long do you think it'll take for Welsh Rugby to get back on its feet and competing for silverware? How many years are we talking before we see, in your opinion, Wales competing for Grand Slam, Six Nations Championships, those World Cup semi-finals that we used to enjoy so regular? How long is this going to take?
I don't think it'll happen within 5.
Hmm.
I think they do. The under 18s and under 19s seem to be some decent players coming through, and I think that's always the case. You've got someone like I think Calvin Leggett-Jones, 17-year-old fly half from
Yeah.
Scarlets, was on the bench for Scarlets in their Harlequins friendly. I think he played out for the under 19s out in Massy when they gave France a good go, lost by 7 points.
Hmm.
The under 18s won all 3 of their games at the festival last year against, I think it was Ireland, Italy, and Georgia. So there's players at that level that are decent. It's just getting them on to be a 22, 23-year-old that can withstand test match rugby, that has plenty of caps of experience. Again, it's just getting players used to playing high levels of rugby, which is so difficult because you have someone like people like in France, Antamac, BLBRA, they almost played 100 games of top flight rugby by the time they're 21, 22 in a
Yeah.
massive league. And yet I remember, Gatland picking some, players that were, you know, quite surprising picks and you going, oh, we're dealing with young players here. And I thought, this guy's older than Louis BLBRA, but he's only played, 7 games in the URC in his entire life. That's
Yeah.
or someone like yeah, and you've got these French guys that are just baptized in high level rugby, which is just the difference. So yeah, I do think it's going to be quite some years, and again, that's the difficulty. There's got to be a lot of goodwill, a lot of benevolence, people sticking around in the hope of better days, and the difficulty is, how many people you cling on to with that love and that interest in that time. But no, I think it will take quite some time, I think.
And are you hopeful, Elgin, for the future of Welsh Rugby?
Well, you've always got to be hopeful as a Welsh rugby fan because I always think when my entire life, when something bad has happened in Welsh rugby, sort of my English rugby friends are something like, "Oh God, that's awful," and I think that's not even in the top 10 most awful days in Welsh rugby. We lost to Romania, Western Samoa twice. This is nothing.
Georgia, yeah.
Yeah.
Romania at home as well.
Oh, dear.
So you've always got to be hopeful, but tinged with hope, tinged with that hopefulness is genuine fear for what the state of the game will be in 5, 10 years. But here's
Yeah.
hoping they pull something out of the fire.
Yeah, it's the hope that kills you, though. That's our motto on this podcast as Drag supporters and now as Welsh Rugby fans. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Elgan, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Really pleased that you joined us. Where can people find you if they want to follow you on social media? What's your username on X, Blue Sky,
You can,
wherever you are?
yeah, you can find me on Exeter at Elgan Times. I'm also on Instagram as well. If people want to follow me on there, occasionally you see clips of me on the Times Rock podcast, or more often you'll see videos of me singing "Come Ronda" at London Welsh Rugby Club or something like that. That's usually what I'm on there doing. So yeah, and then of course you can find me at the Times as well. I think I've got my own writers page or any of my writing there about French rugby or Welsh rugby or Belgian rugby as it was last week. So yeah, you can find me there as well.
Oh, brilliant. I loved your Argentina piece as well, the one you wrote the other
Thank you,
week.
very
It
kind.
was, it
Thank
was
you.
really good. Yeah, Elgan is worth reading. Excellent stuff. Okay, Elgan. Yeah, we'll let you go now. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. I just wanted to say one thing. It was a great day for Newport today because Max Ajomo was man of the match for England, and his dad, of course, had one season at Newport pre-regional era. So
Oh, I didn't know
shout
that.
out for Steve Ajomo.
I didn't know that. Brilliant.
Yeah, he had one
Excellent.
season at 0203 at Newport.
Was he the
Oh, fair
flanker?
play.
He was
Good guy.
mainly a number 8.
He
Yeah,
is a back rower.
at the end of his career, his England days were gone by then. But yeah, he had one season there. And
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah,
it must have been that the Newport jersey that wasn't the traditional black and amber one. It was when they had, was it Bisley as the sponsor, and maybe the yellow all on top and then the sponsor across, and then
Yeah.
yellow below, the slight deviation jersey, I think it was.
Oh, brilliant. Well, like I said, thank you for joining us, Elgan. It's been an absolute pleasure. Maybe we'll see you at Ronnie Parade for a
Hopefully, very
Dragons
much.
game
Yeah,
soon, or
absolutely.
Newport
Hopefully.
even. That'd be good. Get yourself down here. Love to see you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much,
Brilliant.
everyone. Thank you.
No
good
problem.
stuff.
you.
Take
Cheers,
care.
Elgan.
Cheers.
Bye, mate. Bye.
Ta-ra. I love having guests on the pod, and he was a good guest, wasn't he? Very intelligent, knew his
Very
stuff.
good.
Great to chat to him. Yeah, Elgan's features and articles for the Times is always worth reading. They are behind a paywall, but there are ways around that. I really shouldn't say that, but there are ways around it. What you should do is take out a Times subscription.
Yes.
That's what you should do.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm gonna do, or will I? No, it is worth reading the Times. He's a really good journalist. I enjoy following him on social media. Right, so let's quickly go over what happened since we last recorded, because it's been a fair bit of news. Roger Williams, he played for the Barbarians against the All Blacks 15 at Brentford's G-Tech Stadium. It was Rodri's third involvement for the Barbars. Did any of you see this game?
No.
Played really well, didn't he?
He did. He played very
Played really well.
We've spoken on this pod about Rodri blowing hot and cold. He had a good game. Yeah, he had a pretty good game. Unfortunately, though, the Barbarians lost 33-19. First half, they were great. Second half, fell to pieces. It really was. I hate saying it, but it was a game of two halves. All Blacks just came out firing in the second half and blew the Barbarians away. So well done, Rodri. Finny Anisi started at 13 for Tonga against Scotland on Sunday. I didn't see this game. I was watching my daughter's football match down at Dundee, but I was told by Dino on X, he said he looked good, some good carries and defence. He did, however, receive a yellow card for a deliberate knock-on. But more importantly, he didn't get injured. He did not get injured. He came out of that game unscathed.
And he
which is
played
good
at
news.
13, where I would love to see him.
Yes, absolutely. The Dragons injury curse has struck again. Dylan Lewis announced on his Instagram page he's torn his calf in the Ospreys game, and he's expected to be out for a little while. Alan Wainwright picked up a hip injury against Japan. Hopefully it's not serious. I know Steve Tandy talked about managing his workload, but will he be available against South Africa? Not sure. Let's hope it's not serious, because we really need him for the Dragons as well. And then in other news, Steve Cummins has left the Dragons with immediate effect. The 33-year-old Australian lock made just 6 appearances for the Renner Gwent after joining from Poe in 2024. Another Dave Flanagan signing has left the club early. That tells a story, doesn't it? Any thoughts on this from the pair of you?
I thought he was the kind of player we needed, but he never got in the side, did he? It was a combination of injury and fitness. And when he did get in the side, I don't think he brought anything that I was hoping he would do.
Gareth?
I think you've summed it up well there, to be honest, Gav. Yeah, summer of 24 was an absolute shambles, really, wasn't it? Apart from Shane Lewis-Hughes and Ollie Burrows. Dear me.
Yeah, says so, doesn't it? We wish him all the best, of course, but yeah, it's rather telling now that a lot of Dave Flanagan signings have moved on earlier than expected.
Yeah.
I think that tells his own story.
But Funaki's still there, so you know.
Pontypool legend Solomon Funaki, he's still lingering. He's still there. Will we ever see him playing a competitive Dragons game? That's
do you know
what
what? I reckon I'll play at Rodney Parade before he does.
Oh dear. What should we do though? I tell you what, let's quickly go through the Gwent rugby roundup before we move on. So Gav, there wasn't that much rugby, was there?
No.
What's the latest?
It'll be quite quick, to be honest. 2 games in the SRC. Pontypool falling 44-24 away to Llandafry. But Newport continue their rise and improvement with a 19 points to 12 win against Cardiff.
Oh yes,
Good performance.
Did you watch it, Gav?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, Gareth, you watched it as well, didn't you?
The Newport game, yeah, it was good. Mainly looking out for the young Dragons players, but was good. Good to see Newport get a win as well.
Yeah, so Shea Hope had man of the match.
Yeah.
Newport should have won by more. They were completely dominant in our first half. They absolutely destroyed the Cardiff scrum.
Scrum was insane, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had Cardiff on roller skates on that scrum. They should have put the game to bed at half time. There was that botched opportunity just before half time, which would have put them out of sight. And then we sort of let Cardiff back in the second half. But no, well-deserved winners. I thought we were much by far the better team. And yeah, Shea Hope he's coming along nicely, Shea Hope, because I always sort of preferred Morgan Lloyd out of the 2 youngsters. I thought he would, be rising above him. But I think he's coming along really nicely, Shea Hope. I was impressed with him again. And Barney Langton Cryer as well had a good game at lock. I will say that.
That's his level.
But he had a good game, though, nonetheless. He did have a good game. And Josh Skinner is a very good player at this level.
Yeah, we like Josh Skinner. Ed's boy.
Yeah, he's a very good player at club level. Shea Foster-Smith as well had a good game. He scored. So,
Yeah. Good to see Jordan Morris on the pitch as well. Play with a lot of promise.
Yeah, just need him to stay fit. So, I was very happy with that result. Always good to beat Cardiff when we can, of course. We just want to see the Dragons do it. So, sorry, Gav, anything else?
Oh, yeah, and the only other score we've got is from the Women's National League East, where Blackwood 12, Evervale 22.
Lovely stuff. Okay, so just before we move on, a reminder, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast and spread the word. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Wrap YouTube channel, and all the usual platforms. You can follow us on the socials. We are on Facebook, X, and Blue Sky. I don't bother so much with Blue Sky because it's a bit shit, if I'm honest. But if you are on Blue Sky, give us a follow. If you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, you will get a shout out on the pod. So yeah, I don't think we've got any new reviews at the moment, but if you like to give us a kind review, if you appreciate what we do, then please give us a 5-star review because it would help us out and we really appreciate it. Right, so URC is back. Dragons host champions Leinster at Rodney Parade. It's I think we're going to be waiting a little while yet for that all-elusive win, but we are hosting the champions of Rodney Parade. Gareth, how do you feel about this one? You're Mr. Optimistic. What are you saying? Bonus point win for the Dragons?
Do you know what? Right, I'm genuinely really looking forward to this game.
Of course you are.
No, honestly, I'm buzzing for it, right? Friday night, Rodney Parade, and you got a massive team coming. What more do you want? It's exactly the type of game I want us to have after the season we've had so far, because we've had 3 games at home that have been so high pressure. Like, oh, we have to win. And we've got 2 draws and had our, usual loss to Cardiff. Now, there's no pressure in this game. Nobody's expecting us to do anything against Leinster. I'm not expecting us to go and get a win. So just go and throw some punches at them.
I'm glad you've said that.
I wasn't going to say I'm expecting us to go turn them over. I think, missing too many players. I know they'll miss loads, but we'll be missing too many of our top line players. But
well, they're missing about 42, aren't they? You know,
yes, still they could put out the under-15s, mate. It's
That's the thing. They could
This-
put out a third string and they're still going to comfortably beat us, aren't they?
let's go and have a go. There was a game a couple of years ago against them where I think we ended up losing something like 15-7 or something daft. But we really got under their skin, stopped them getting the bonus point, and the crowd really got at them, and it was a really enjoyable day at Rodney Parade. And look, we don't need the team to win on Friday, but I need that team to really stand up and put some fight into, get into them, show a lot of fight. Let's get the crowd behind them. And why can't we go and enjoy it and fire some shots against them, throw some punches, and see what happens? You know, Leinster will be expecting us to roll over and have our bellies tickles. Let's not do that. Let's show some fight and let's enjoy it. There's no pressure. It's not one of those, we need to win and then it's the end of the world. Let's enjoy it. I'm genuinely looking forward to the game.
Fair enough. Gavin?
Well, look, it's not going to be a super.
Don't burst my bubble now, Gav. Come on.
No, it's not going to be.
Gavin's going to piss all over your cornflakes right now.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a strong Leinster team, but it's going to be a strong team because it's Leinster.
Yeah, strong enough.
You know, and we'll be missing our better players because rightly they're playing for Wales. But yeah, let's have a go at them. But I don't think the issue is our players or players' heart. It's structure and stuff and
Coaching as usual.
yeah, you know, and I don't think it really matters who we put out against them. But I don't think it should be an absolute shellacking because they are missing, I think, is it 17, 18 players in the Leinster, in the Island setup?
But do you think any of those internationals could come back into this?
No.
Because they could bring back a couple, couldn't they?
They could.
Or do you think
but
they won't for this?
No,
there's no need.
no. I genuinely don't see them rushing.
No.
I don't see them rushing back their internationals to play us.
No.
Mhm.
But you think that let's pick Mackenzie Martin at 8 and
Yes, I want to see that.
let's pick some players who really go out and let's show some fight and take the ball to them. I'm a bit worried. Obviously, we'll miss Brodie, and again, like worth mentioning, so glad he's got that Wales cap, and I do think he'll have many more. D has been on Dylan Lewis's videos training together, so that's a worry because it means he's still in the injured club. So I'm not sure.
Well, might not necessarily. He might be just helping him with rehab. That doesn't mean to say he's necessarily injured.
It'd be great if he was back, but you get Burrows hopefully starting. Tight Ed, so I can sing. So we'll have no Chrissy, no Dylan. Rob Hunt obviously did have a HIA, didn't he? But let's hope
I've
he's
seen it.
recovered from that.
I've seen him in those training videos that they've
Good.
put out, and I've been
That's
told
good
that
news.
he's all right. That's what I've been told anyway.
That's good news, and I think we are missing our best players, and for us there is a bit of a drop off. I still think we'll put a tidy enough side. I think Gav was probably right that is the coaching going to make a massive. Is that the problem? Do the players make a big difference? But
we could say that about every game. Look, we know we're a poorly coached team. We know that.
Yeah,
we know it. Let's be honest about it. We know we're poorly coached.
Someone said to me the other day, if Dragons could go and sign any four people in the world, who would you have? And I said I'd have 4 new coaches. I'd pick 4 new coaches before 4 players.
Newcastle, the buggers, signed the attack coach that I always wanted for the Dragons. They brought in Stephen Jones.
Yeah.
I wanted Stephen Jones at the Dragons as our attack coach. And let's be honest, he's not going to Newcastle for a year's supply of Red Bull, is he? He's going there for the money. But the point is, if you want good coaches, you've got to pay the big bucks. Our owners are prepared to do that. Because I had this conversation with my dad actually a couple of days ago. He said to me, coaching appointments are just as important as player recruitment. He said, we've done really good with player. Yeah, he said, we've done really good player recruitment. He said, but we haven't done a really good coaching recruitment.
Exactly.
Although I quite like the fact we brought in Rhys Patchell and Dan Lydiate. But,
But this, they're on the side coaches and they're not your main spine of your coaching team. Yeah, I don't think we've made a good coaching appointment in years and years and years. The only one we've had with any sort of track record was Dean Ryan, and he did come in and initially improve the side.
The first 18 months, he was very good. We wasn't the worst Welsh region in our first season, mind.
Yeah,
we finished above the Ospreys.
And he had some sort of record as a coach. He still wasn't, world class or anything.
Listen,
But
we got into the Champions Cup that year. We
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
qualified for drag. People forget that Dean Ryan, the first 18 months was very good for us. It was
yeah,
just
he was good. It
the
did
third
fall
and fourth
apart,
year. Oh, massively so. Yeah.
but yeah, he was really good. And I think, well, every coaching appointment since then has had a worse and worse track record. And I just think there is nobody on that coaching ticket with a good record now. It's literally not up to standard. And all this talk about control, and the WRU can want control. Well, they get my vote if they promise us a world-class coaching ticket. Okay, I don't mean that.
Yeah, but we was under union control before mind, wasn't we?
No, I don't want that. But do you know what I mean, though? It's just like, come on
now.
Dragons, now. That is what we've tried so many different angles with signing different players, sort the coaching out. Oh, I was positive a minute ago. I said I was looking forward to Friday.
You've been brought back down. We've been brought back down. But look, we've got a really good ownership group, and we're seeing that doing this WRU shit show. And I'm really happy that the owners are standing up and saying, no, this is bullshit. I'm really happy we're doing it in public. We are the only region to do it. Yes, we got a little bit more wiggle room than the rest. I get that, but fair play. We could stay silent. We haven't. I think it's right to call it the WRU because what they're doing is despicable, quite frankly. It just doesn't make any financial sense. They're good owners. We are lucky, but they haven't made the right appointments on the coaching, and you can question the recruitment as well in previous seasons.
And if you're going to fight that hard off the field, well, give us the coaching ticket to go and win stuff on the field then. Because otherwise, what's the point?
100%. And we got a good squad now. It was pointed out to me by a couple of people with Brody now capped that we can put out 2 international front rows now.
Yeah.
A couple of people.
I really like our squad. I like a lot of our players.
But if you look at it on paper, but then again, I've said this for the past 3-4 years. If you look at our squad on paper, I think we've got a really good squad now. I certainly think it's the best squad we've had. It's packed with international players, and there is quality there. There's talent in that Dragons team.
100%.
But are we getting the best out of it with this coaching group? And we've had this debate so many times. I feel like, we're treading old ground here, but it's,
And rugby, again, it's shown through this autumn, is all about scoring points and scoring tries, and our attack is woeful.
Well, like I said, I want Stephen Jones, but look, we are where we are with it right now. In terms of Leinster, it's a free hit. Like you said, Gareth, no one's going to expect us to win. If we get a bonus point out of it, I'll be happy. Just give it a crack, see what we get out of it. No one's going to expect us to win. It's not a game that we should be judged on. I've always said that Dragons should be judged on trying to beat the teams around us rather than the top 3 or 4. So just give it a crack, and if we get a bonus point, brilliant. We should be able to put out a decent team, actually. Yeah. Because we haven't been, we talk about Wales call-ups. We're not as affected as the other 3 regions. Sadly, that's just a fact. We could be, though, with the South Africa game, but I'm not expecting Steve Tandy to be calling up 5 or 6 Dragons players. We might not get any players called up. I think he's going to lean heavily on Cardiff and Scarlets and Ospreys, particularly Cardiff. And that's fine. Call up their players and let them get crocked against South Africa. In a selfish way, I'm kind of hoping we don't get any players called up.
Who would be called up? Rodri,
maybe, but then you could look at Dane Blacker at the Scarlets. I don't know. I don't know who else they could call up from the Dragons.
I think they'll go with the 2 scrum halves they've got, won't they? They'll go with Hardy and Ruben Double Barrel at
Ruben Walker-Williams.
Yeah.
But you need numbers, mind, to train. It's not just about picking place for this game. They need numbers for training and stuff. So I don't see Tandy raiding the Dragons. I do think he's going to lean heavily on Cardiff players, Scarlets and Ospreys. I'm fine with that. Given our injury record, I don't want our players getting crocked against South Africa, if I'm being brutally honest. Whilst I love to see our players representing Wales, I think for this one, you're probably better sit it out, lads, if I'm being brutally honest. Call up Cardiff players. Call up a load of them instead. Let them feel the pain. But for us, no. So that's where I am with it. It's a free hit. Let's see what we can get out of it. There, have a crack. Right, predictions. I think we all know where we're going on this. It's Leinster, isn't it? But how many, I guess. I'm going to go Leinster by at least 2 scores. Somewhere in the region of like 14, 18 points. I just think they're going to be 2 scores better than us, even if they do put out. It won't be a weak side. It might not be the strongest, but it's going to be a very good team because the academy players are outstanding and they have got pretty good players, squad players as well. So, Gavin, what are you saying?
I was going to say Leinster by 15, so yeah, I'm in the same ballpark as you.
Mr. Optimistic, what are you going for? Dragons by 1?
No, I'll have to say Leinster by 6 and continue our record of getting at least a point out of every home game.
I think that'd be a good result. If we can get a bonus point out of this game, I'd be quite happy with that.
That'd be an excellent win. Excellent result.
I just got that. Maybe it's because I've not been over there for a little while with the Brit. I just got that feeling about a Friday night. I just feel like we're going to get into them.
Yeah, but I thought that when we played Cardiff, and look what happened.
Oh, I'm sick of playing Cardiff. I didn't even. Yeah.
No, but do I mean like I'm thinking Friday night? It's all great and what have you.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know they've got to raise their game, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am looking forward to it though. I will say that because it feels like a very long time now since we've been at Rodney Parade.
Yeah,
let's hope we get a good performance. And I think we'll put out Teddy squad and let's just see what happens. It's a free hit, as we said. So best of luck to the Dragons. Best of luck to Wales against South Africa this weekend. This could be a weekend of pain though, couldn't it? Dragons, Leinster, Wales, South Africa.
Well, I'm not saying we're scraping round for players, but I've not made any plans for the weekend just in case Tandy gives me a ring. Because and to be honest, it's fine. I'll clear my Saturday. I might struggle with training though.
It don't bear thinking about because, like I said, as much as I have green shoots and optimism for this Wales team, we are underpowered, and the one team you really don't want to be playing when you're underpowered is South Africa.
I think they'll put 70 points on us.
I don't think it'd be 100. Like Elgan was saying, some people have mentioned to him 100. It won't be 100, but I think there is the scope and the possibility there for 60, 70 points. Yeah. And on that cheery note.
Good to be back, though.
It is, yeah. I missed this. I missed our therapy sessions. I've had a lot of messages from people saying, when you coming back, it's not the same. No, I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. I think we'll call it a wrap there. Gentlemen, thank you, as always. Thanks again to our guest, Elgan Alderman. He was good, wasn't he? I enjoyed that.
Very good
chat. Hope our listeners enjoyed it too. Thank you to our friends at the Riverside Sports Bar for their continued support of the pod. We appreciate it. Sponsorship for another season. Thank you very much to Dan and the team. And thank you for listening. Until next time, we'll speak again soon. Ta-ra.
All right.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. You need the right person with the right background who can move your business forward. If you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed Sponsored Jobs. With Indeed Sponsored Jobs, your post stands out to quality candidates who actually fit the role. According to Indeed data, 90% are more likely to be hired and trusted by 1.6 million companies. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. Now with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/Podcats13. Just go to Indeed.com/Podcats13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/Podcats13. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed.